Learning Bava Kama Daf. We're starting a new Masechta. This is the Gemara for Shabbos. We're starting a brand new Masechta, and actually, we say the Zikin. Rabbi Yehuda spent most of his time. We'll see Gemara Hamaniach. Spent most of his time learning the Zikin. And if you want to be smart, you have to learn the Zikin. So let's see if we can stop becoming smart. I'm sure it'll bring back memories from the Shiva days. And the sad thing is, you'll probably remember better what you learned in yeshiva 20, 30, 40 years ago than what you learned yesterday. Thinking about it here. as Alicia of starting today. A quick hakdama that we you're not allowed to be. It says here that if you cause damage, if your items, your possessions cause damage, you are liable. We can see the different categories of damage. And there's in the yeshiva world, there's a big chakira, and we'll see later as we go through how to apply the chakira. But the chakira, why do you pay? Let's say if your cow gored another cow, why do you pay? Do you pay because you didn't take care of your cow? So it's you're paying for your negligence. Is that what you're paying for? Or you're paying because your possessions committed a crime, and the Torah is mechadish that you possessions are an extension of you, and therefore you are liable. But if you watched it properly, then you are putter because you're an einus. So the first way, if you watch it properly, because there's no chayiv in the first place. You're only chayiv for being sort of negligent. But if you're responsible, what can you do? Then you're not chayiv. The second way, you're definitely chayiv because your possessions perpetrate damage, and therefore it's an extension of you. But if you're an einus, we're going to exonerate you. That's one chakira in the Shiva world. Another big chakira, and from Lashonis of Rishonim, Rashi and others, Rashi sometimes says einus, and that's why you're pot if you have shmina ma'ula because you're an einus. Sounds like it's a ptur. That means that you're chai because your possession committed a crime. But another famous chakira is there an isser to be mazik or just hey, I break your window? I'm allowed to break your window, but I have to pay you for it. Or is there actually an isser involved? You're not allowed to break your window. And what some want to say that there's an isser in mazik, and the isser comes from avos. You're contravening avos Yisrael. Others say v'nishmartem. Okay, baltashkas is we generally machlekes if there's baltashkas on those kind of things. But then there is that's only the Rabbanan. From the Torah says, is there Isser damage. Others say it's from the Shmartim or you're not allowed to go ahead and damage. There's a Rashba, which I'll tell you about later. The Rashba clearly learns that mazik is a case of Isser. The mammon is a symptom, is a toitzah of the you commit an Isser, you have to pay money. Not the way others learn that no, mazik is a din of mammonis, purely din of mammonis, as we'll come to. Let's go and learn. Abba is Nazikin. There are four principal Nazikin, and we already had in the Masechta Shabbos when there are others, there are tuldas, and we'll discuss that. There are four principal others. One is Hashoid. Big Machlek is the Gemara what Hashoid is. The Shoid, Keren, because there are three ways an animal can cause damage. Keren with its horns. One is with Shen, it eats, consumes, and one is Regel, it tramples. And so Shoid, is that talking about Keren? Is that talking about Regel? Haboyer is a pit. We'll see more machlekes Rabbi Shmuel later whether if you make the whole thing hefker or if you own it and in the middle of the street, what happens? You make it hefker. Hamave is machlekes the Gemara whether mave is shen of an animal, so we're jumping back to an animal, or hamave is actually an adam hamazik, a person who causes damage. And the last one is hever, which is fire. And we don't use the word eish, use hever because that's the result of the fire. The Torah had to tell you about each one of them because if it was said only, for example, Shoyer, you would say, well, Shoyer, you have to pay. But Mava, maybe you don't have to pay, or maybe Mava, you have to pay less. Maybe Shoyer, because the din is generally when the animal causes damage, you got to pay the full amount, except by Keren. If the animal gores, since it's not the normal way, it's not a normal thing happening, the first three times it's considered a tam. Machlekes in that as well, and the fourth time becomes a mood. You pay only half of the damages, and the fourth time you know already that your animal is liable. You should have been more careful. So loy hari asher, there's a chumrah, there's a reason by shor why we should be paying more. For example, shor is regel, why you should be paying more than because of certain particular chumrah that you don't have that by mother. So we would have thought mother you don't pay anything at all, or you pay less. Mother is according to one opinion Shen and one opinion is Adam Hamazik, person like you said, or it is Shen. The loy had a Mother carry a Shen. The same thing was said only about Mother, whatever Mother is, you would not know Shen. And if it would have said Shoid and Mava, they're both describing either an animal or a person, living beings, I would say fire wouldn't be responsible. Now, what in the world is Ruach Chaim? What kind of Chumrah is Ruach Chaim? So in the Shainim Mishra, others. So some say the pshat is that if it does not have life of its own, it needs an external thing to make it happen. Like for example, fire it needs wind. It needs wind to make the fire go. It needs fuel to burn. So because it are extraneous things that are assisting the fire to cause a damage, you might have thought that's ameliorating or that's mitigating the responsibility. A thing that has life does everything on its own. Or a thing that has life is mamash an extension of you. Yeah. A thing that does not have life is not really an extension of you. If we learn like the Chakira we said before, that what's the pshat, why you chayv your animal cause damage? Because it's an extension of you, then it makes sense. If it's a davar baruch chaim, it's an extension of you. But a fire, what means, so why is that an extension of you? Hariyesh ein baruch chaim, has no life. You would think you're not chayv. The loizeh and all of these should darken leilich ulahazeh. They go out to cause damage. Okay. They left their comfort zone. They went out to cause damage. The show, even the Aish. Or the Kariyat boy, the body is sitting still. She ain't dark doesn't move at all. In fact, you came there. Why should the Balabos of the boy, Balaboy be chayiv? You came to the boy. Hatzada Shavish Rev, what we have in common between all the four, Shadarka Lahazik, they all go out and cause damage. It's your responsibility to take care of it. And therefore, that's what's in common all four, and that's what mazikin is. If they do cause damage, chav hamazik l'shalom, you're responsible to pay. The Gemara will explain what the Mishnah trying to tell you. Tashlumei nezek, you got to pay. B'meitav haaretz. We know we have three different levels of when it comes to land. We had idiyas, bainis, saburis. When it comes to the zikin, you pay idiyas, the premium land that you have, not the average, not the cheapest, but the premium land that you. We'll see later. Machlek is your premium land, or because the premium land of the nizik, but your premium land. Yeah. Case really asks us, seems from here that we are prepared to be einish min hadin. Seems from here is that we're prepared to punish from a kal v'chomer, because we're saying the Torah didn't have to say it, and yet we would know you're liable. If that's chayv, then sure this is chayv. So it's einish min hadin. You learn kal v'chomer, and yet he brings a mechilta that says clearly that ein einish min hadin, that we cannot punish somebody based on kal v'chomer. You cannot punish somebody based on kal v'chomer, and why not? So why can't you? Because maybe one husband is a few husbands. One husband is, how do you know that punishment fits a crime? Since it's stricter, maybe you need a stricter punishment to fit that crime, and therefore you're making him pay something which doesn't achieve anything. Doesn't achieve anything. There's three different ways of understanding why Enosh Radin, but that's one of the ways of understanding why Enosh Radin. So he seems from Al Gemara argues on this principle, and Al Gemara holds yes, Einshim Min Hadin. Others say there's no. The Mishnah is not saying if it wouldn't say Shoyer, why do you have to say Mother? Let's learn from Shoyer. Who said we're talking about Kal V'chomer? Maybe it's similar. Maybe the vart is, since this is your possession caused damage. This is your possession caused damage. Not because it's stricter, not because it's a Kal V'chomer. And therefore, but if it would have been a kal v'chomer, maybe our Mishnah also would agree that ain't einshim min hadin, because how the punishment is commensurate to the crime. We're not talking about kal v'chomer, but Teish understood we're talking about kal v'chomer. If this is chayv, then surely that should be chayv, and therefore we say that no, that there's a chumrah here versus that, and therefore there's no kal v'chomer. So the Mishnah is telling us, and he's saying that he's just alerting us that sees from our Mishnah that you do punish with kal v'chomer in contrast to the mechilta that says that we will not use a kal v'chomer to meet our punishments. Okay, says the Gemara. The Gemara starts very simply. Tell me others, Bekaldi Ketulus. So you tell me there are others, then obviously they're Tulus. Tulus saying Ki Yetzeben or Lav Ki Yetzeben. Are the Tulus similar or the Tulus not similar? Because we have like Shabbos Tulus, and the Tulus have the same status as the others, or they're different. The Rebbe Reb Heschel asked the famous question here, and everyone talks about it. I won't give you the answer, just give you the question, because the question is a brilliant question. The answer is not great. The Mishnah says that if it would, why do you have to say Shoy? Let's say each one of them. Let us just say Shoy. We learn Mava from there. What's the Mishnah saying? If the Tulus are not like the others, that's why the Torah had to write it. Because if you would not, if it was not written in the Torah, then you would say, okay, Shoy is the Av, dinner so and so. The Mava is not written in the Torah. Rashi says that's what's written in the Torah is an Av. That's not written in the Torah. If it were not written in the Torah, then it would be a Tulus. And since Tulus is Lavki Yitzman, the dinner are slightly different. That's why the Torah wrote it. It's the same dinner. What's the most question? Tulus saying Ki Yitzman and Lav Ki Yitzman. Then what's that pshat in our Mishnah? Anyway, and it's a question that he asked going back to 4 years ago, and everybody talks about it. Gabi Shabbos. I'm going to give you 2 examples. Sometimes the tulas are like the Av, sometimes they're like we know where we stand. God by Shabbos, not by Shabbos. It says Ovis Malachas. I bring a total of 39 Malachas. Ovis Mikladi Ketulus. If you call them principles, then obviously they are secondary, ancillary. Told saying Ki Yesheben, but the Tulas of Shabbos are just like them. Loishna of. If you committed of one of the 39 Malachas, you bring a Chatas by mistake, and Loishna Tulda Chatas. Loishna of Skila, Loishna Tulskila. The dinim are the same. So Ma'yi could be another Tula. What's the difference in Av and Tula? You know the nafkamin is the Ovich they Ovid badada 2 disparate Ovis together. Oh, you know, they Tula badada 2 disparate Tulas together. B'chayv kol chada b'chada. Chayv each one. Ila Ovid Av b'Tula today. B'chayv b'chada. Since it's only a branch of the Av, it's like you did the same Aveda twice under Behelim Achas, and therefore you only bring 1 karbachat. In other words, there's no difference in the Tula and Av. There's no Tula saying ki yitzeben. Ula Rabeleza, the Mechayva to Magma, he holds that Tulda Nav is like 2 separate Avedas. So my Karle Av, my Karle Tulda, why call this an Av Tulda? So we say, Har the Have Mishkin, Chashiva Karle Av. That which was in, there's 2 ways of understanding Shag here. That which was in Mishkin automatically comes Chashiv, and that's called an Av. And Har the Law Have Mishkin Chashiva. That which is not in Mishkin automatically is not Chashiv, Karle Tulda. Or others say, within the Mishkin itself, that which was Chashiv in the Mishkin is an Av, that which was Chashiv Tulda. So what's more answering? One is, there's no nafkin halacha. Just we're calling this an av and a tula because whatever was chashuv is an av, not chashuv the tula. Is it different halacha? No. Others say no. We're answering a different halacha as well. That is, when you give hasra, when you give a warning, you have to warn everything based on the principle, on the source. So if you're giving hasra to a tula, you have to give it the hasra based on the av, not the tula exactly. And that's what he's saying here. That which is chashuv, no, the tula is not chashuv. So when you give hasra, you got to use the chashuv in malacha. So what is he about Shabbos? The Tulus, whichever way, Akiyayitzeben. By Tumah, it's the other way around. By Tumah, we learned Ovis Atumas is Shedets. These are our Tumas, Hashich V'Zera, right? And Tomei Mesa, a person who touched the Mesa. These are all Avatuma. And told the saying is a Rishon, right? Lav Kiyayitzeben. An Avatuma is Metame, a person, and Caleb. A Rishon Tumah is only Metame, food and drink. Very different. So thereby Tumah, the tools are not Kiyayitzeben, are very different. Takes that's an interesting question. A tame mace, if he touches a cherev if he touches a knife, the knife takes on the same status as the avatuma. So here we see Tul saying ki yitzben. What do you tell me? It's an absolute rule by Tumah. Tul is saying lav ki yitzben. There is by Tumah. If the person picked up a knife, the knife has the same status as him. So Rabbeinu Tam says, either based on this Gemara here or just general shit, and that is, the difference is the man touches a knife, the knife becomes like him. But if the knife touches another knife, the second knife does not become like the first knife. So there's already a tolus of lav ki yitzben is different. So the question is now, hachamai, what's the deal over here? So if you learn the Gemara of Pashtus, the Gemara Taka doesn't know. By Nezikin, are the tools ki yitzben, and you maybe pay nezik sholem, maybe meitav and so or no, maybe tools you pay only half a nezik, or maybe tools you pay from Zaburius, right? Lav ki yitzben. And therefore, the rest of the Gemara is very difficult to understand because we're going to go through every single one of the others, and we're going to explore what the tools are, and then we're going to say, but these tools are ki yitzben, and we're trying to find a case of a tool that lav ki yitzben because our Papa is going to tell us some are ki yitzben, and the ending of Gimel Beis, we're going to come up with some one tool that lav ki yitzben. So the Gemara starts off saying we have no idea, and then as soon as you give us an answer that maybe some respects not, what do you mean not? Of course it's ki yitzben. Is it the same action as asking both questions? It's like somebody moved in here and he changed the conversation. The whole course of the conversation is very difficult to understand. But anyway, let's continue. Says the Gemara, Amar Papa. The Papa says, over here, right now, Amar Papa. The Papa gives an answer, and then we're going to explore that answer. Yes, ki yitzben, yes, lav ki yitzben. There are some ki yitzben, some. At the end, the Gemara is going to find everything that we think is lav. Of course, it's ki yitzben. We'll come up with one exception. That's lav ki yitzben. So then, what was it for? So why would you even think? Before even so what was the Gemara's question in the beginning? The Gemara thought maybe maybe and then we get the Gemara's whole gang is what are you talking about? Like, of course, the Yitzhak. Yes, it's hard to understand the gang, the whole mahalach of the Gemara. Anyway, tell them what we learned. Gimel Avos now with Shoy. You have 3 Avos by Shoy. Keren, Shevet within Shoy itself. You have Keren, goring. You have Shen, using his teeth, and regel its feet. Kedem. How do you know that kedem means that the horns are chai? What we learned. It says in the pasuk, "Ki yigach shoyd es ish oyes ish." Right? It says yigach goring. What does goring mean? We don't know what goring is. What part of the body is the animal using? It's the horn. Shenema. It says, "Yas like Sitkio ben Kanani karne basil." That Sitkio ben Kanani fashioned. He fashioned metal horns by Yomer, and then he said, "Koyamar Hashem." With this, we are going to gore Aram. So now we know the word Negicha is referring to horns. The only thing is, these horns were detached, right? And he replicated the horns, made these metal, he molded in metal, but it's never detached. We have another passage by Yosef. It says B'choy Shoyr Hadolai, and the Kani the Aim Kanav Bohem Amim Yingach. So therefore, it says over there that what do you call it? That B'choy Shoyr is good for him, and Kani the Aim Kanav. So we're talking about the Kanav, talking about the horns, and what does it say? Bohem Amim Yingach. With these horns, he's going to go. So we see again horn, but these are attached horns. My Bible, what do you second passage for? For the first pasuk is in Tanakh, and we cannot learn Torah. Torah says Kiyigach. Can't learn from pasuk in Tanakh to tell us. So what are you talking about? That's why Toshma B'choy Shoyr Hadolai being a pasuk chumash. We're learning the halacha from Kabbalah. We don't know the type. The Torah tells Kiyigach. We don't know what part of the animal we're referring to. We go to Tanakh. We see that the word Yigach is referring to horns. But Tzidkiyahu made these horns. So why can't you learn Tanakh? What's the question? The Negicha B'Kerenu, all we did was touch the word. We would think this. When does it make a distinction between Tam Lamud and the first few times? When it's really rare. When the horn, for example, is cut, detached from the animal puts it in its mouth and it jams it into somebody, gores somebody. Oh, that is so rare that's why they say, you know what? The first three times you're a Tam, you never anticipate this to happen. And the last and the fourth time you're Mu'id. If this horn is attached, and let us say that it's all a mu'at, but for the first time. Tashma, therefore, bring a pasuk in the Torah. B'choy Shoyr Hadolai. We bring the pasuk in B'choy Shoyr Hadolai. The same way discussed. So why bring the pasuk in Tanakh at all? Just bring the pasuk in the Torah, where it says, B'choy Shoyr Hadolai, and that's it. So one answer that otherwise we would think that the horn is detached, you'd be totally potter, because it's so rare that you'd be totally potter. So we need also the pasuk to tell you that even a detached horn, which is rare, you're still liable that the animal did it. Okay. But then the problem is, why do we bring first the pasuk of Tanakh and then the pasuk of the Torah? We should first bring the pasuk of Torah, and then Okay. So that's the ad. Cut it. Now we've established that's cut it. So now the question is, tool of Kedem. What's the tool of Kedem? What is the tool of Kedem? The Gifa. The tool of Kedem is Negifa. The animal shoves with his own body, not just a horn. Nishicha, it gives a bite. Or the vitza, it decides to throw its entire body on top of your keli and breaks your keli. We're not talking about. Gemara will ask that. Gemara will ask a question. Why did you decide that the Negicha is an av and the Gifa, which means it's a body, is a tool? It says Kiyigach shoyd es ish oyereyu es ish ayisha l'chayla the gifanamiksiv. It says in Feish the pasuk. It says the Kiyigach shoyd ish es shoyd ayu. When it comes to goring another animal, use the word Yigach. So why it should also be an av. It's in the Torah. Kiyigach says the Gemara. Even though the Torah's expression is Yigayv, Hai Negifa Negichi. Even though the Torah says use the word Yigayv when an animal damages another animal, it means Negichi. It's not talking about the body shoving, it means the horns. The Tanya, actually the Braisa. Pasach ben Negifa v'sayim Negicha. The first pasuk says use the word Chayigav Shoyd Ish as Shoyd Eyu. It says Yigayv. And then when it talks about a person, it says over there, Ki Yigach. It says Ki Yigach. Or we thought the gifa means the goof, but here the Torah uses Kiyigayv Shoyd Ish as Shoyd Eyu, talking about the horns, and then the pasuk says Kishoy Nagachu. Starts off calling the Yigayv, and then the Torah, why do you have to pay? Because you're Shoy Nagachu. Uses the word Nagach. So why does it start with Yigayv? And the very same pasuk ends by calling him Shoy Nagach. Leimelach Zui Negifa Zui Negicha. Tell you, even though the Torah uses the word Negifa, it means Negicha with the horns. So that's what you. But when we're saying the gifa is a tool, we're talking about using its body, shoving its body against somebody. So that's a tool because it's not written clearly in the Torah. as I said before, Maishna Gabi Adam. Want to ask a question? So why Taka when it talks about the shirt of an animal, a person damages another shirt? Use the word yigach. Maishna Gabi Behemah. Why by an animal they use the word yigach? If it means the same thing, why change the word? Use the same word for both. Someone answers, Adam the Isle Mazola, a person that has mazel. Here Rashi says mazel means that a person is aware of what's going on and he can protect himself. Other than Shabbos, Rashi says mazel means he has a malach who's watching over him all the time. So Adam the Isle Mazola, it says Kiyigach. A person that has mazel, it says Kiyigach. The animal has to work harder to make it to hurt you. By behema, when the animal wants to damage another animal, the less the mazola is not aware of what's going on or doesn't really have mazel. See if it says ki yigoif. No, just check the shav. Doesn't have to work too hard. Well, milsa agav uchi kamashalon. You teach you halacha. The muad la'adam, if an animal already habitually damages people, having mula behema, you should have known that he could also damage animals because it's much easier to damage another animal to damage a person. But if he's a muad to damage animals, doesn't automatically mean, and if then he damages a person, he's still only a tam. Because as far as the person is concerned, it needs extra effort, and there's no, just because that he damages other animals doesn't damage a person. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. So, what do you tell me that the three tulas that neshicha, that hagafa, neshicha, and revitza are tulas? Now, neshicha, you asked, if it's a tula, it belongs a different av under the teeth. You know, you eat what you're enjoying, and then you're eating here, whatever. It's another form of chewing. Why does it come under keren? Similarly, no. Yeah. Yeah, but what is shoyd? Shoyd is made up of three. Yeah, shoyd is made up of three. No, they're all three of us. These are all three of us. Because Shen will see in the pasuk, everything that's written in the Torah is an av. We're going to have in the Torah keren. We just said, right? We just had. We're going to have Shen in the Torah. We'll see in a minute, and we're going to have regel in the Torah.
What's the call of others?
Anything written in the Torah? Oh, well, you're right. You're right. Mava could be regel and Shen, and shoyd is regel. And why keren is not included in arba because it's not a mood. These are mood mitchilasan. So when we say arba, very interesting. Taisus wants to know why it doesn't say arba of zikin hain. Always says hain. So some of them have shown him answer. Because we're not out to tell you the only four of it. Even though later on the Gemara will say, Minyana, why the Torah, the mission is mainly out to tell you why you have to be written. Arba of these four of the zikin, lo harishoy, lo harimav. At the main purpose of the mission is to teach you that lo harishoy, lo harimav, lo harimav, harishoy. Even though the Gemara later will talk to us about Minyana, how many others there are, and we'll break it down. In our mission, they use a generic, because they're all parts of shoy, so he calls it like we had in Shabbos. Noiteya and Zareya and Noiteya are both others, even though it's counted as one. It's exactly the same thing. Okay, so why is it the Shicha Tul Shen? It should be Bog to Shen. But said no. Shen Yesh Hanola Zeka. Shen is not doing it to cause damage. The animal enjoy eating to eat. Oh, ain't Hanola Zeka. Here, when it gives a bite to you, it doesn't do it for pleasure, does it? Because it wants to harm you. Revitza, the next tool that you said, Revitza, throwing itself on the kelim or beating and giving a kick, the kelim go flying. Tool the regel, he's not regel. Regel is when he's walking and trampling things while he's walking. Here, it's kicking things in the air or threw itself on the kelim. Is that part of regel? Loy, regel has zekamotze. Regel walks, it constantly causes damage. Look how it walk. Hani ain't a zekamotze. It's an animal going and deliberately kick something in the air or throw itself onto kelim to break it. That doesn't happen often. So that all falls under keren. So now that we've established what the tulas of keren are, tell me, the same lav high, which of these three tulas was he referring to when he said this similar to its ab? Ile mahani, these three, why is it different? Keren, what's the whole thing of keren? Kavanosel hazing, intention to cause damage. It's your responsibility that you have to mind them. Nu haninami, kavanosel has these three. What we just said in the gifa and neshicha and the vitza are all three examples of the animal deliberately trying to cause damage. Kavanosel hazik, it's your possessions. Ushbidosel it's your responsibility. So this is ki yitzibem. Why should it be different? Okay, let's get over the table. El tul the keren. No question, that's similar. So the Gemara is saying it's compelling that tulas are gezerah. That's what makes the whole mahalach so difficult to understand. You start out the whole Gemara saying, is it ki yitzibem, not gezerah, as if you taka don't know, and then the whole gang in mahalach is, of course it's ki yitzibem. What are you talking about? So what was your question initially? Anyhow, then he said, the Chikam Papa. So Papa's comment was Ashen V'Regel must be the other of this. Okay, let's explore those. That's what we can do the next block. We can go through every Av and explore the tools. Shen V'Regel. First of all, in order to be an Av, it has to be written in the Torah. Where do we find the Torah Shen V'Regel? The Tanya, look in the Braisa. It says in the pasuk, a person lights a fire in a field or in a vineyard, and then it says V'Shilach as Be'ira. He sends his animal. Ubiyah is the achar, and consumes in another field. So we're going to learn that shilach is referring to regel, and biyah is referring to shen. And then it says meiter sadeu meiter kamra yishal. You have to pay your best quality assets. The shilach is regel. How do I know shilach means regel? Send an animal. How do you know what kind of what damage, how it could commit a damage? Oh, could we have another pasuk in Tanakh where it says mishalche. Sorry, it says in Tanakh mishalche regel. Those who send the regel of the shoy chamor. You see the word mishalche is referring to regel. Okay, so when it says v'shilach as be'iroi, that's a regel. Ubir, and then it says the beer is the achad, that's shen. How do I know that? Because the chenu oimer, it says in the pasuk kasha yevayer hagol atuma, just like you yevayer hagolol atuma. What's golol? So Rashi says golol means sometimes golol from the word gili, a part of the body that's sometimes revealed, sometimes concealed. What is that? The teeth of an animal. Sometimes the lips are closed, sometimes the lips are open. So that's yevayer hagol atuma, or golol means dung, excrement from an animal. And this comes from the shen eating, and that's what comes out the other end. So therefore, kayavayir hagol atumit till the very end is referring to shen. So now we know regular shen are written in the Torah. It said the shilach is
rooms in my flower beds. Is that the tool of shen?
We'll see later. Yeah, it's not a tool. That is a yeah. That's it.
That's as he goes. That's what he does.
But it comes from shen. We'll see. And okay, that's the obvious. Now let's go through. It seems to me that because you brought me a reference from another pasuk in Tanakh, that the word mishalche means regel. Otherwise, what would we have said? It's not regel. So what would you have thought it is? Time of the kosach man mishalche regel shechamor. You're telling me the only reason we know what it is because there's another pasuk mishalche regel shechamor. If you wouldn't have that pasuk in Tanakh, that definition, why do we need it? My mukala. What else can you learn? Keren, if it's you say, well, there's only two other possibilities, Keren or Regel. Oh, Shen. Keren, we already had before. Keren Ksiv. Shen, it says a beer, is the Acha, that's Shen. So what else could Mishal Regel be? Mishal, says the Shilach is Beire, what damage could it have been? Of course it means Regel. I don't need to bring any evidence proof from another pasuk in Tanakh. Shen Ksiv. So what do you need to bring in pasuk? So Gemara is going to answer, no, we would have thought that the pasuk is talking about Shen, but the two types of Shen. And to tell you that both included. Ishen, Ksiv. Okay, it's when it. I would have thought Vishilach as Be'ira or Be'ir the Achar are both referring to Shen, but two kinds of Shen. Only two kinds of Shen. I would have thought Idividi Ashen. The Mechalya Kana, a Shen that completely consumes the crop, and Hadulay Mechalya Kana. Did it completely consume it? Left some buds over there, so it'll grow back. Might not be the original form. So he did cause damage, but it's growing back. And I would have thought maybe you're only chayiv if you consume the entire field. How do you chayiv if you didn't consume the entire crop? That's why you need two kinds of shen. Kamash Rolan. So Rashi says, just tell us the one about that even if you left a little bit of the crop, you're responsible. Surely if you consume the entire thing. So Rashi says, but when he said one, automatically I would attribute it to the lesser chiddush, which is he ate the full thing. So that's why I would have thought of two types of shen. So therefore I needed to a pasuk mishalche regel to tell you no, that v'shilach means regel. Someone asked a question. So now that you only have left one pasuk for Shen, how do we? So that will obviously use it for the lesser chiddush, which is what you use it for the din of Mechalya Kana. You consumed the entire crop. How do you know that the animal is liable if it didn't consume the entire crop? Left something behind, just caused some damage. So the kimna regel. So Shen the loy Mechalya Kana, Shen that does not consume the entire crop. Minolan. How do you know you're liable? So Gemara says because now that we have regel in the first part of the pasuk and shen, and the Torah make no distinctions and no qualifications, we'll say whatever chiyuvim apply to regel apply to shen. Is do me the regel? Let's look at regel. Ma regel loishna mechalya kan loishna mechalya makes a difference. The animal's trampling makes a difference. It can destroy complete. The Torah doesn't make any qualifications. Is av shen loishna mechalya kan loishna loy mechalya kan. It makes no difference if it consumed entirely. Okay. Oh, Mama, you also said before that a beer zu hashen. You said beer means shen, and then you brought me a pasuk. You brought me a pasuk, as if to say, without the pasuk, I would have thought something else. What could you have thought? We already know regel from Vishilach. We already know keren from Kiyigach. So what else could it be other than Shen? That's what you said. Let me ask you a question. Time the cost of Rachmana. Not been from that pasuk, but Maya Kinlo, what would you have said? What else could you learn? Ikad and Ksiv. Regel Ksiv, because of Shilach. Must have no. There must be two types of regel. We would have thought the pasuk is only talking about regel. If we did not have a pasuk that a beer means Shen, I would have said it's talking about two types of regel. How could it be two types of regel? Yitzchak, Salka Amir thought, individual regel. Had the ozl memela, had the shalach shluchi. One is talking about where you sent the animal to go cause damage. Okay, makes sense. You're responsible. You sent the animal off, and you should be responsible. But if the animal wandered off on its own and caused damage, how did on your chayit? That's why maybe you need the shilach as bira. You sent off the animal, and then you need a beer bizdeach, and that the animal went on its own. That's what you would have thought. You need both. He's Kamash Ralan comes to teach you. The truth of the matter is, and here's Mefarshim ask. So then just say v'shilach es birei, which means you sent the animal, and not koshkein, where the animal ate on its own. Exactly. Okay. The hashta the uki. Okay, so therefore the Gemara says, okay, two types of regel. No, so now that we're saying one regel, one is shed. How do you know if an animal walks on its own? You're responsible. But hashta do geshen. The regel doesn't make them known. I know regel walks up wanders on its own. You're chayv. Says the Gemara, dunya the shen. The same thing we said before. We'll go the other way. We're comparing regel to shen. Ma shen loishna sholchus luchi loishna doesn't make. It makes no difference if the animal ate and ruined somebody's field. It makes no difference if you sent it or you didn't send it. Afregel, because the Torah makes no qualifications. Afregel loishna sholchus luchi loishna ozlan meila. Says the Gemara. So now the most questions exactly what we said. V'lichte brachmana v'shilach just said tell us that you send v'loy boyer beer. Let the Torah just say the word v'shilach and not bring beer at all. The mashma regel and mashma shen. The word v'shilach can mean shen and can mean regel. One word v'shilach. What do you mean? Well, mashma regel we just said mishalchei regel. But also the word v'shilach can be shen. Where do you find a pasuk that the word v'shilach refers to shen? Umashma shen chsiv, because there's another pasuk which we did not bring before, where it says v'shen behemis ashalach bam. I will send off, punishment. I'll send off the behemis will go ahead and will eat, and it says ashalach. So the word v'shilach can actually include both malach, both others, regel and shen. So the Gemara no. So we're asking why I say beaver deach. We need to tell me highlight shen separately. The word v'shilach automatically incorporates both. So the Gemara no. Ilav kro you say that had not been for the extra pasuk. I would have thought oiha. It could be shen, it could be regel. Oy regel, maybe regel the zekamot, it's common. Oy shen, the yeshon no zekel. Maybe shen should be the one who's liable because he has pleasure for what he's doing here. Mechdi, and since school and they're both the same, let's learn both from there. Since they're both equal, each one has a reason to be mechayiv. Shen has a reason, regel mechayiv. So you learn both from B'shilach, the Haimanai and Mafket. Which one would you exclude? So what I need the pasuk be the achid? That's no part of my question. Let it just say V'shilach as beiroi, and I would say Shilach can be Shen. They both have good grounds to be chayiv for. You're liable, so it means both. Which one are you going to cancel? Says so, no. No. I would have then thought if you learn out from the word v'shilach, only if you sent the animal there. But if it went on its own, no. Therefore you need shilach and a beer. Beer is on its own. Okay, so then this is just the others. Then the Gemara, we're going to go through the Tulas Hashem, and then we're going to ask